It is your 35th birthday. The cake is still in the refrigerator because you told everyone you were too busy to celebrate. That is not completely true. You are sitting at the kitchen table, looking at a life that seems to have missed its departure time. A former classmate has become a director. Someone you once dated is posting photographs of a new house. Your younger cousin has announced a second child. Meanwhile, your plans still look temporary. You have changed jobs, abandoned projects, stayed too long in places you knew were wrong, and asked yourself the same question in a dozen ways. Why has everyone else begun? And why do I still feel unfinished? Carl Jung explored moments like this, but he did not create a magical category of late bloomers, and he never promised that confusion would automatically become greatness. His idea was more demanding. A person can become highly successful at performing a life that does not belong to them. Sometimes the collapse of that performance is where a more honest life begins. When you are young, survival depends on adaptation. You learn which version of yourself receives praise. You discover what earns approval and keeps you safely inside the group. Maybe you become reliable, impressive, agreeable, funny, invisible, or impossible to criticize. Jung called the public identity we build the persona. It is not simply fake. We need it to work, cooperate, and take a place in society. The trouble begins when the mask becomes the only face we recognize. You choose the respectable career because it makes sense to everyone else. You stay in the relationship because leaving would disappoint people. You keep saying, "This is fine," until the sentence becomes automatic. From outside, the life looks stable. Inside, something keeps withdrawing its consent. That resistance can appear as boredom, restlessness, self-sabotage, or the exhaustion of succeeding at something you never wanted. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is poor discipline. But sometimes your life has been organized around acceptance rather than truth. And this is where the clock becomes cruel. The world rewards visible progress. It cannot photograph the years you spend discovering which desires were never yours. Jung described youth as the period when people establish a personality and a position in the social world. Careers, partnerships, independence, and responsibility matter. But people do not complete that work at the same speed. Some adopt a role, test it, and grow inside it. Others feel every compromise as friction. They notice the distance between what they say and what they believe. They can function, but functioning costs more. They change direction because no available identity feels convincing. They watch decisive people and assume decisiveness means self-knowledge. It does not. A quick answer can be right. It can also be borrowed. The person settled at 28 may eventually discover they built efficiently on the wrong ground. The person who appears lost may be avoiding commitment or refusing to cement a foundation they know is unstable. From outside, those situations look identical. Only honesty can separate them. That difference matters more than speed. Jung used the word shadow for qualities the conscious personality refuses to own. People imagine the shadow as cruelty, jealousy, or rage. It can contain those things. But it may also hold ambition in someone trained to remain small, tenderness in someone rewarded for hardness, creativity in someone praised only for practicality. Jungian theory treats the shadow as containing both unwanted qualities and valuable capacities excluded from the conscious identity. Your unlived life does not always knock politely. It may arrive as envy toward someone who took a risk you avoided. It may appear as irritation toward people who speak freely, or as the feeling that your days are becoming emotionally colorless. That realization is uncomfortable because it removes an excuse. If the missing part of your life belongs to you, nobody else can recover it. If this is putting words around something you have felt for years, like the video and subscribe, because the next part matters most. Feeling delayed is not proof that destiny is preparing a reward. At some point, reflection must become a decision. A Jungian turning point is rarely cinematic. You may not quit your job beneath dramatic rain or disappear into the mountains. It can begin on an ordinary Tuesday when you realize you cannot keep negotiating against yourself. The promotion no longer excites you. The applause no longer reaches you. The personality that protected you now feels like a room with no windows. Jung associated midlife with a change in psychological task. The first part of life emphasizes building the ego and finding a place in the world. Later, development asks for greater integration, for meeting the parts excluded while that identity was constructed. This is individuation. It does not mean becoming selfish, unusual, or free from responsibility. It means becoming less divided. You stop pretending that one acceptable slice of your personality is the whole person. You listen to the information carried by discomfort without obeying every impulse it produces. What remains now stays by choice, not fear of who you might become without it. Real change in real life often looks smaller than the fantasy. You take the class. You make the difficult call. You finish one page instead of planning an entire book. You apply for the position you dismissed as unrealistic. You apologize without defending yourself. You stop explaining a boundary to someone committed to ignoring it. The new life is built through actions so ordinary that nobody applauds them. That is why many people never begin. They wait to feel transformed before behaving differently. But coherence usually develops in the opposite direction. You make one honest choice, then another. Eventually, your days stop arguing with your values. What changes is that the discomfort now belongs to movement rather than self-betrayal. Return to the kitchen table. The phone still shows other people's victories. The cake is untouched. Nothing outside you has changed. But perhaps the question has. Instead of asking, "Why am I not where they are?" you ask, "Which direction would matter if nobody could see me taking it?" That question will not reveal a perfect career or guarantee success. Jung's work offers no excuse for endless waiting. A path does not become authentic merely because it takes longer. But time spent confronting false identities is not necessarily empty. It becomes useful when you stop treating insight as a substitute for action. Neither timeline proves more worth. The tragedy is not arriving after somebody else. It is reaching the end of a life that looked correct from outside and realizing you were absent from it. So do not worship delay. Use it. Take what the wandering taught you, the jobs that drained you, the relationships in which you disappeared, the ambitions that sounded impressive but felt lifeless, and turn that knowledge into one concrete choice. Not next year, not when confidence arrives. Now. Your life does not begin when you catch up with everyone else. It begins when the person making your decisions is finally you. Share this with someone whose life is taking an unexpected route, and subscribe for more stories about the forces shaping who we become. Then tell me in the comments, what is one part of yourself you are no longer willing to postpone? But there's a piece of this we haven't talked about yet. If you've been struggling with discipline, temptation, distractions, and self-control, that resistance can quietly undo every decision you just committed to making. So watch, control your lust, and rewire your brain. Take back your mind next. Because before you can protect your vision, you must first learn how to control the impulses that keep pulling you away from it.